Hey guys, namaste and welcome to another session of our class 10 ICSE Biology series. I'm Ambika, Master Teacher of Biology, right here at Vedantu. I hope all of you have had a great weekend. I hope you were able to manage revising a lot of the topics. I understand that in many of your schools, pre-boards are coming up. But yes, I also hope you found some time to enjoy with your family and friends over the weekend. Well, just in case you're wondering why I'm sounding different, kindly excuse me for today because I'm having a bad throat. I have a dry cough and I have a respiratory infection. So I may end up sounding a little scratchy and my voice may sound a little, more bassy than it is usually. So please excuse me and ignore all of that. Okay, but anyway, let's continue learning what we were. We are into the chapter Excretory System of the Human Physiology unit, and we have already seen the structure of the kidneys, right? The external structure of the kidneys and the internal structure, wherein we discussed the structure of nephrons, right? And today we will be looking at another topic, another very important topic, which is one of the favorites of examiners, but at the same time found a little boring and confusing and difficult to understand by students. Honestly speaking, for me, this particular topic, mechanism of urine formation, used to be hard to understand, and I found it boring also to study when I was in 12th. So now that it's part of your 10th grade ICSE curriculum, but fortunately not too much of the nitty-gritty details, but the basics of how it happens. You need to have an idea of the basic steps involved in urine formation. Okay, so let's get started without wasting any more time. Stay with me till the very end. Today will not be a very long session. Two reasons. One is that this is a very simple to understand topic if paid attention to and understood in the right way. Secondly, unfortunately, I have a bad throat and I will not be able to keep talking for very long. Okay, so as always, let's start with a positive frame of mind. I would like to tell you today that it's important to strive for progress and not perfection. Because I remember I thought of giving you this quote today, because now if you recall what I spoke to you about in my last Monday motivation session, I was telling you about a lot of stress busters and importance of achieving a positive frame of mind right now and prepare yourself well enough to get into the correct frame of mind before your board exams, right? I remember one of you children had put a comment under that video saying that you get stressed out because, and you end up wasting a lot of time because you want to strive for perfection rather than progress. So I completely understand, because I am also a similar kind of person. Some people are like that. Rather than focusing on progress, we are so unnecessarily, many times unnecessarily focused on perfection that we end up wasting a lot of time, and we may end up feeling stressed looking at the time and seeing that we have been so less productive when we could rather have done so much more within that much of time. So keep this in mind, children. It only comes with practice. Of course, perfection is important, but what I want to tell you, I am also learning this now in the last few years after I started my career as a teacher, that it is important to strive for progress, and a lot of small intervals of progress would eventually certainly add up to a lot of perfection, and that too long-lasting perfection. So do not worry. Take every day one step at a time, which is why the Pomodoro technique works even in your daily life and in your studies also. Okay, children, so let's get ahead and look at our homework question in the last session. Why does frequent urination occur in the winter than in the summer? Yes, I did get a lot of answers from many of you, and whoever gave me the answer did imply the right thing, but there was one person who gave me the answer first. So I will be putting up the name of that person after we discuss the answer. And yes, the answer is as simple as this. In hot weather, more sweat is secreted, and hence the excess fluids in your body get removed or excreted out in the form of sweat. Thus, you tend to urinate less, because your kidneys have a lesser or a smaller job to do, because the sweat is taking up a lot of your water and excreting it out through your skin. On the contrary, in cold weather, okay, like you see here, less sweat is secreted, and because of that, water potential of blood is higher and more urine is excreted, because water tends to accumulate in your body because you don't sweat much in the winter season, and hence, in order to eliminate that excess water, the only means your body finds is through your kidneys, through your nephrons, and that happens through your excretory system in the form of urine. Okay, and the person who gave me the answer first was Ramesh Sharda. In summer, some amount of water and waste is released through sweat and the rest through urine. But in winter, water cannot be released through sweat. Thank you very much, Ramesh, for giving me the answer. The rest of you have also given me the correct answer, but there were too many answers that I couldn't fit on 1 or 2 slides, which is why I just chose to pick up the first answer that I received. And yes, Ayush Sharma, if you are attending this session, I remember that you mentioned, you complained that I'm not reading any of your comments, but that's not the case. There were a couple of days when I was a little busy and held up with a lot of work, so it's not that I did not read the comments. I always read all your comments after my sessions are premiered or happen live. Every single comment I read through them, but the only thing is that I did not find the time to take a snip and put it and post it here while I was doing the next session. So Ayush, please don't get disheartened. Your answers are still reaching me, and I am observing who is regularly attending my sessions. I think I'm in fact in a good enough position to take an attendance without an attendance register now. There is a bunch of you who attend my sessions regularly. Some of you I see you on and off. Some of you just come and leave midway through the session. Whatever it is, I hope all of these sessions keep helping you. Do stay with me in every session so that you are able to score much better in your biology exams. Okay, so let's go ahead. But before starting, do not forget to download Vedantu's learning app if you have not done that yet. And do join our Telegram group and stay in touch with us using the link that's given below this video. And most importantly, do not forget to hit the like button. Right now, hit the like button if you enjoy this session, if you are enjoying this session, and if you have been enjoying all our ICSE biology sessions. And remember to share it with all your friends so that they can also benefit from these sessions. And if you have not subscribed yet to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th, remember to hit the subscribe button now, because we have a lot in store for you in the days and weeks to come. So do not miss any of those. Even if you are a CBSE or a state board student, make sure you attend our sessions also, especially if we have overlapping topics. I understand there are some overlapping topics across different syllabi in the country. So if we are dealing with some topic like that, that's also part of your syllabus, do remember to attend them. And you will get that information only if you are subscribed, so that you can see the daily and the weekly schedule. Okay? And now, just have a look at this. Okay? How many of you have felt one or a few of these symptoms at any point of life, or even if it's now, or if you have seen somebody experience these? Increased thirst, fatigue, dizziness, headaches, dark or decreased urine, sticky or dry mouth, loss of skin elasticity, by which I mean cracks in the skin or dryness in the skin, and irritability in general. Irritability, of course, can be caused due to different reasons, but in relation to any of these, if you have or someone you know has experienced this, do tell me right now. Okay? Now, why is this important to understand? This is where the importance of drinking a lot of water and staying hydrated comes into picture. Okay? So, the more you drink water, the more water is available for each and every cell. Remember, you are made up of trillions and trillions of cells, right? Every cell needs water to perform its metabolic activities, and that happens only if you stay hydrated. every cell, right? Even if it's your skin cells, your liver cells, your kidney cells, your blood cells, everything, digestion, everything happens better only if you drink enough water. If you have been experiencing any of these, it means that it could be a sign of dehydration. And just in case, if you have been experiencing all of these together, I think it's time to go visit a doctor, because it could be a sign of severe dehydration or something else, because this is not good for a normal human being. Okay, now I have said hydration, right? You drink water, but then what happens after that? Of course, your water is used up by your digestive system for its activities. It enters the bloodstream, all the nutrients, all your gases, everything enters the bloodstream. But what does the poor blood do after that? It's got a collection of everything, everybody, all your systems are depositing so many things in your bloodstream that it also ends up carrying a lot of waste. Right? So what does it do? Where does the blood go? Of course, the blood itself is one of the most hardworking tissues of your body, right? We all know that. But if it needs filtration, it goes to one set of organs, and that is, or those are, your kidneys. We have seen the importance of your kidneys and the functions that they perform in our previous session. But how do the kidneys manage to do this? How does it form urine? Well, the basic ingredient needed for urine formation is blood. It's from your heart to the kidneys. The blood flows, is pumped by the renal artery and comes into the kidneys. From there, a lot of magic happens, and ultimately urine is formed and you end up going to the toilet or visiting the loo. Okay, let's look at how that happens, how your kidneys manage to do that much, so many times in a day, in the next few minutes. Okay, so for the next 10-15 minutes, stay away from all distractions, focus less on the chats, children, and pay attention to this. This is very, very important and not as hard as it seems. Just pay attention and you will understand what we are trying to explain. But before that, it's important to recap the structure of the nephron. What is the nephron again? It is the structural and functional unit of your kidneys. Your kidneys contain millions and millions of nephrons, and this is what one single nephron would look like. The major portions or parts of a nephron are the Bowman's capsule, a tuft of capillaries called the glomerulus, and it's got a proximal convoluted tubule or PCT, followed by the loop of Henle, which is this U-shaped structure, followed by the distal convoluted tubule or the DCT, which opens into something called the collecting duct. And the collecting duct opens out into your renal pelvis, and that ultimately pours the urine formed into the ureters. Okay, this is how the structure of the nephron is summed up. Of course, it's also got afferent arterioles and efferent arterioles. If you remember, I told you that the afferent arterioles, A comes before E. So afferent is what comes into the Bowman's capsule or into the glomerulus, and efferent is what leaves the glomerulus. Okay, so basically the renal artery brings in blood from your heart to the kidney, and the renal artery, I'll just note it down here so that it's easier for you to remember the renal artery. Remember, renal is anything to do with your kidneys. The renal artery breaks up into different arterioles and further branches up to form the afferent arteriole, which breaks up to form a tuft of capillaries called the glomerulus. The glomerulus breaks up into smaller capillaries, which leave it and form something called the efferent arteriole. Now, if you look at it, it's important to remember this, children. The efferent arterioles are narrower as compared to the afferent arteriole. There is a very, very important significance for this, which you will understand within the next few minutes. So hold on, we will understand the significance of that. For now, understand afferent arterioles, glomerulus, and then efferent arterioles. And efferent arterioles eventually join to form many venules, and then finally the renal vein, and that carries its blood into the inferior vena cava to the heart ultimately. Okay, so this is how circulation or blood flow to the kidneys work. And now, if you are thorough with the structure, what I'm going to tell you next will be very, very simple for you to understand. So let's have a look. These are the basic steps of urine formation in a normal human being. They take place in 3 basic steps. The first one being glomerular filtration or ultrafiltration. Okay, and the second step is called tubular reabsorption, and the third step is called tubular secretion. Now what I want you to do is, before I go on to explain to you what each of these is, just look at these 3 names, think of it in your head, look at this picture also, okay, and try to relate to what happens in each of these steps during urine formation. Ultrafiltration or glomerular filtration, and then tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. Just take a minute or a few seconds and see if you can make head or tail of what happens. If there's something that you want to post, go ahead. I will be very, very happy to read it. Okay, now let us look at them one by one, starting with the very first step, glomerular filtration. Now, as you can see, this is a zoomed in part of your nephron wherein your Bowman's capsule and your glomerulus can be seen, right? So have a look at this beautiful animation. You can see that in glomerular filtration, like the name indicates, some kind of filtration happens. That is exactly why you have a tuft of blood capillaries here. Okay, the part of the kidneys and the part of your excretory system and a part of your circulatory system are being in touch, right? 2 systems come together, work together in unison to perform a very, very important function. That is what happens here. What happens is the afferent arteriole, as I said, brings in blood, comes into the glomerulus, and what happens is the glomerular walls have a lot of pores. Okay, the walls of the glomerulus, these are also blood capillaries. They have a lot of pores, and in addition to that, the Bowman's capsule's wall also has a lot of slits, and hence filtration of the blood components, the blood that's flowing inside the glomerulus, can be filtered. Those parts of the blood which can pass through these pores and through these slits end up entering the Bowman's capsule. How does this filtration happen? Just like any other filtration, like any other normal filtration. When you want to make a cup of tea, what do? You boil water and you add some tea powder or tea dust or tea leaves, whatever you want to call it. And then once it's boiled well, you use a strainer and try to filter it, right? So what happens is the water, along with whatever has been dissolved in it or mixed with it well, blended with it well, ends up passing through the strainer and falls into the vessel below. But the bigger particles which could not pass through the filter stay on top as the residue, right? Whatever passes through down is called the filtrate. So in this case, whatever managed to enter the Bowman's capsule after filtration is called the glomerular filtrate. Okay, now the important question, what is it that forced this blood to get filtered in this particular area? This is where what I told you earlier comes into picture. It's very, very important. The afferent arteriole, okay, is wider than the efferent arteriole, and hence the blood in the glomerulus, okay, afferent, glomerulus and efferent. So the blood basically here at the joining or the junction between afferent and efferent is under a lot of pressure, and because of this force or because of this pressure, the blood gets pushed through these pores and through these slits to enter the Bowman's capsule. So basically, you can classify the components of this blood into filterable and non-filterable components. The filterable components obviously would include water, yes, nitrogenous waste, by which I mean urea, then some salts and nutrients. Where did these nutrients come from? Of course, whatever you eat and got digested and entered into the bloodstream has been flowing in the blood. So there are some nutrients in the blood that come into the kidneys, right? And the non-filterable components would include the bigger ones, like the blood cells, the proteins in the blood like albumins, fibrinogen and all those stuff, and the platelets. What they do is they would just leave. They are the residue, right? Remember the teacup example, the analogy, the residue that's left behind in your filter. They just leave through the efferent arteriole, and the rest of them, the glomerular filtrate, as we would call them now, would enter into the Bowman's capsule and go ahead further to enter the next part of your nephron. And that part is, yes, your proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, so I hope this part is very, very clear to you. Have a look at this. This is very simple. We are now going to be talking only about glomerular filtrate. And because the glomerular filtrate enters the proximal convoluted tubule, this is what happens. Now, why does this happen? A lot of tubular reabsorption happens. Why is it called tubular reabsorption? Because it's happening in the tubular parts of your nephron. Most of it happens in your PCT, but some of it also happens in your loop of Henle and DCT. Okay, but immediately after the Bowman's capsule, it is the PCT. And as you can see, there is also a blood capillary here. Where did that come from? If you recall from our previous session, each of your nephrons is surrounded by capillaries, blood capillaries. So because of that close proximity between these two, there is exchange of materials. Still, that can happen until urine formation is complete. We are still talking about blood. We are not allowed to use the word urine for the next few minutes until we reach one particular step. Okay, we are still using the word glomerular filtrate, which enters the PCT, and from there suddenly your body begins to want to reabsorb a lot of things. It's like, okay, a lot of stuff has come into the PCT. Now, it's not possible to just eliminate anything and everything that has entered the PCT. Yes, it will first go and detect how much of water is there in your body. This is why it's important to stay hydrated. If you have been drinking less water, your body suddenly senses it, and it's like it tells the PCT, oh wait, we need to retain a lot of water. This guy has not been drinking enough water, so let me reabsorb all the water from the glomerular filtrate. So it ends up retaining or reabsorbing a lot of water and a lot of other useful substances like salts, like sodium, chloride, amino acids and glucose, which are the nutrients. They get reabsorbed from the filtrate back into the blood. If you can see here, it's a sodium, amino acids and glucose, and of course water also, that commonly get reabsorbed into the bloodstream. Okay, children, so filtration has happened and some of the useful substances reabsorption has also happened. What next? That is where tubular secretion comes into picture. After a lot of the useful substances have been reabsorbed, your body still identifies some waste materials like excess water. If you have been drinking too much water, your body is like, oh, this guy is drinking too much water, let me eliminate some of it in excess. That's in excess. It pushes it out, secretes it into your DCT, most of it into your DCT. You can see that here, some of it from the bloodstream also is secreted into the loop of Henle, but most of it gets secreted from your bloodstream into the DCT. So remember, the direction is reverse. Reabsorption is from your nephron or the tubules of your nephron into the bloodstream, whereas in secretion it is from your bloodstream into the tubular parts of your nephron. Okay, very important to remember. The name can indicate that, so you will not go wrong if you understand it that way. Okay, now what does it secrete? Apart from excess water, what does your body want to secrete? It also secretes excess hydrogen ions, excess salts, and maybe some drug metabolites, like if you have been taking some medication or something of the sort and its metabolism has happened in your system, some byproduct may be formed as a result of that. Correct? And those byproducts that may not be necessary for your system anymore get excreted as part of your urine. Now you can safely call this substance urine. Once reabsorption has happened, we can use the word urine. So to the urine, your bloodstream adds all of these excess substances. And this process, very importantly, also helps to maintain the normal pH of your blood. Okay, that is because it adds in all these substances. So accordingly, it can perform a balance. It can maintain a balance. Okay. So remember, just imagine how intelligent your systems are. Now, how does it detect this? What are the driving forces that cause these movements into or out of the bloodstream and the tubules? Those are a little more complex level topics which you will be learning in your higher grades if you choose to specialize in biology. Okay, for now, understand these three processes: glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion. Okay, now what next? We have seen that these three happen. Now, peritubular capillaries are, it may sound like a complex word, but it's very simple. Peri is periphery, or something surrounding it, like a fence. Remember, I told you perimeter in one of my earlier classes, something that surrounds. So peritubular capillaries are capillaries that surround your nephron tubules. Okay, so after the DCT secretion or tubular secretion has happened and your urine has been formed, it comes into your collecting duct. Now, from the collecting duct, the urine gets emptied into the renal pelvis, which, if you recall, is a part of your kidney. And from the renal pelvis, it empties into the ureter and is finally excreted out. So, just to make these three a little easier to understand, I found this to be a good analogy. The three phases: glomerular filtration, wherein filtration is happening; selective reabsorption, wherein your system or your body is trying to, the filtrate has come, but it doesn't want to lose whatever it needs. So it's trying to selectively pick up whatever it may need, and it's picking up. And after that, what does it do? It still sits and scrutinizes and does a further analysis, and whatever is absolutely essential to the body, it sends it into the bloodstream. The rest of the stuff that it considers as waste is secreted out and dumped out. Basically, it ends up forming a lot of kachra or garbage, which is what is secreted out to form your urine. Yes, so to get the larger picture, once again, until now we were too zoomed in to the nephron. Just zoom out and look at the entire excretory system. Once again, you have the kidneys. This part of it is called the renal pelvis, and into the renal pelvis your urine is poured, and it then comes into the ureters, the urinary bladder, and finally, when your bladder is half full, it starts sending signals to your brain, and that is when the receptors, the neuron receptors, or your brain basically tells you that it's time to visit the loo or go to the bathroom. So you get the urge to urinate, and finally it's expelled out through the urethra. And there is also a name for this: the act of expulsion of urine voluntarily. Okay, this act of expulsion of urine is called micturition. Okay, it's an important term to remember. You may be asked in your exam as a definition. You basically just need to write that micturition is the voluntary act of expulsion of urine from your urinary bladder to the exterior through the urethra. Okay, so remember all of these names, and this is basically an image that summarizes the three major steps, and additionally a step called water conservation. Glomerular filtration creates a plasma-like filtrate of the blood. Secondly, tubular reabsorption removes useful solutes from the filtrate and returns them to the blood. Tubular secretion removes additional wastes from the blood and adds them to the filtrate. Fourthly, water conservation removes water from the urine and returns it to the blood and concentrates wastes. This process can happen in a lot of the tubular parts in your PCT, loop of Henle, DCT, and a little bit in your collecting ducts also. Reabsorption of excess water. Okay, so children, it's important not to strain your kidneys too much. In case you have not been taking enough water, your kidneys will end up, your nephrons will end up overworking and overburdening themselves in order to just keep reabsorbing all the water and excrete out only dark yellow colored or concentrated urine. Okay, so watch out for signs and symptoms that I showed you at the start of this session. And yes, now you are in a better position to understand the benefits of staying hydrated, not just for your kidneys. This is, in fact, hydration is important for your overall well-being. If you recall in one of my initial sessions when I told you how to sit and study, like study techniques and all of those strategies that I discussed with you, one of the steps was to stay well hydrated, drink enough fluids. These are the benefits of drinking enough fluids. Okay, so fluids in the sense it should be mostly water. I'm not talking about all those harmful aerated drinks that can end up having adverse effects like the reverse of hydration, which is dehydration. Okay, because it acts in a different manner. Anyway, water can act as a muscle fuel. It can give you clearer skin. Yes, for you teenagers, most of you are 14, 15, 16-year-old children. So a lot of you adolescents keep complaining about acne and pimples and all of those things. But staying hydrated can prevent all of these problems up to a very good extent. It can help you have much clearer and brighter skin. It boosts your productivity. It can also act as a joints greaser, a grease for the space between your bones, the joints, right? It can boost your brain. That is exactly why it boosts your productivity also. And yes, calorie control. Whether it's about gaining weight or whether it's about losing weight, water can help maintain the right balance of calories also in your body. It of course acts as a blood normalizer. We know that your blood is a fluid connective tissue. Without water, it can't do anything. It cannot be normal or perform its normal activities. So yes, a blood normalizer. It is definitely a fatigue buster. It can get rid of tiredness, dullness and fatigue. Just a few sips of water can, keep you very, very strong and alert. And yes, overall fluid balance in your body. These are the benefits of staying hydrated. So I hope all of you will start drinking at least 8 to 12 glasses of water every day. In addition to all other fluids that you take, you may be taking milk, tea, coffee and all of those. But that aside, water alone, you should be drinking around 10 to 12 glasses ideally per day. Even if you're not thirsty, especially people living in colder parts of the country, now that it's November, December, people in the northern parts of India may be facing a beginning of winter like Delhi and other parts. So you may not feel the urge to drink water, but keep forcing yourself, consciously drink water. Just keep a bottle of water at your study desk all the time. Okay, and it can help you get rid of a lot of problems. Do not underestimate the importance of this particular thing. Okay. And now a very quick quiz time to see how much you have understood. The first one, reabsorption of glucose, and most of the water occurs in, tell me very quickly, which part of your nephron? Glomerulus, loop of Henle, DCT, PCT. 3, 2, 1, go. The answer is PCT. Most of the reabsorption, remember, happens in the PCT. Most of the secretion happens in your DCT. But yes, all of these tubular parts of your nephron are equally important in those two steps, reabsorption and secretion. Glomerulus, of course, is associated mainly with filtration. Okay. And now, the nephrons discharge the formed urine at renal pelvis, urinary bladder, urethra, or the renal pyramid. And yes, the answer is your renal pelvis. We have seen that the part of your kidney, which is called the renal pelvis, is where all the collecting ducts of all the nephrons of your body empty the urine that they have formed. And now I have a fill in the blanks, or complete the following type of question. I have given you hints in bold there. Using those words, you must tell me the answers. List down, type in your answers in the order. Just don't type random words, otherwise I will not know what you are trying to say. In a nephron, the dash flows through the, yes children? The dash flows through the dash under great pressure. What flows through the dash under great pressure? Yes? Of course, it is the blood that flows through the which part of the glomerulus under great pressure? Glomerulus. The next part, the reason for this great pressure is that the dash is narrower than the dash. Again, let me test your memory here or see how much of it you have understood. What is narrower than what? And yes, the answer is the efferent arteriole. The efferent arteriole is narrower than the afferent arteriole. The efferent arteriole. Okay, I don't have enough space, so I'll just write it in short. Narrower than the afferent arteriole. Yes, by now I guess you would have completed it from your side. This high pressure causes the dash part of the blood to filter out from the dash into the dash capsule. Yes, this high pressure causes the dash part of the blood. Which part of the blood? Yes, the liquid part of your blood, which ends up forming your glomerular filtrate. Liquid part of your blood gets filtered out from the dash. Look at your remaining options. What are the remaining words that you have? We have completed all of these. We are just left with Bowman's and plasma. Of course, liquid part to filter out from the plasma into the Bowman's capsule. Okay, just take a couple of seconds to read through this, children. It is basically a summary of glomerular filtration. Okay, in a nephron, the blood flows through the glomerulus under great pressure. And the reason for this great pressure is that the efferent arteriole is narrower than the afferent arteriole. This pressure, this high pressure, causes the liquid part of your blood to filter out from the plasma into the Bowman's capsule. Okay, so I hope that is very, very clear. And before we sign off, I have a homework question for you. Ayush Sharma, I want an answer from you for this question. I remember you used to answer very, very actively for the first few sessions. I want you to come back with that same Josh, and the rest of you also. Let's see who's answering first this time. Can glucose be found in the urine of a healthy person? Yes or no? Explain your answer. Okay, and children, remember to stay hydrated. We do not want to look dehydrated like SpongeBob and his friends and his friend, where they look dehydrated at the start, and then when they are filled with water, they are suddenly very, very happy. So you can see the importance of water to them. It's the same with us. Without enough water in our system, we end up being dull and maybe not our best self. Okay, and do not forget to download Vedantu's learning app. Stay in touch with us through the Telegram group. The link has been provided below this video. Just go hit the link and join the group. Stay in touch with us and get your doubts cleared regarding all your academic concerns. And if you have enjoyed this session, do not forget to hit the like button right now. Share it with all your near and dear friends, and Do remember to subscribe to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th so that you do not miss out on any of our amazing sessions even in the days and weeks to come. And in the meantime, any concerns that you would like to get cleared personally from me, do send me an email at ambika.gopalakrishnan@vedantu.com. And until we meet again, this is Ambika signing off, and goodbye.